Hello, Professor Toybox here along with the Falcon, and today we're going to build the Shield Helicarrier, which will finish the build exercise for my Sokovia toy box. Here's a screenshot of the Helicarrier from the Age of Ultron movie. It has an upper runway in the stern, in the back, and a lower runway that extends the length of the carrier. The upper runway is angled, and I don't believe there's any way to rotate the building pieces that we're going to need for that, so ours will have to be straight. The Helicarrier has protrusions on the sides for the 4 turbines that keep it aloft, and there's a conning tower in the back on the starboard side with some kind of sloped surface leading up to it. And notice it looks like there's little holes or indentations along the bottom of that. Here's an overhead shot of the Helicarrier, which I'm grateful for because it provides a good look at the shape of it and how things are spaced, which you really don't get from the previous shot. This is going to help us make our build a little bit more accurate as far as sizing and spacing the various ship features. From this shot, you can clearly see that the front of the Helicarrier gets narrower the closer you get to the front. Now, the Helicarrier in the movie is very detailed, and unfortunately, I don't have the memory on my Wii U to make this Helicarrier as detailed as I would like. Other toy box builders have done that, but I can't. I need to save as much memory as I can for the gameplay, because my toy box isn't about the Helicarrier, it's about the action that takes place here in the city. And that means I need to make this Helicarrier look as good as I can without using up much memory. And that means that my Helicarrier is going to look pretty basic. But if you're on a PS4 or a PS5 or an Xbox One and you want to make your Helicarrier look detailed, then go for it. You definitely have the memory to do that. Sir Duxworthy III built an incredibly detailed Helicarrier that you can actually go inside and explore. And the official Disney Infinity team built a Helicarrier for the 2.0 toy box entitled Toy Box Tales No. 1, Avengers No. 1. Infiniteer Adventures featured a video of that on his channel, and I'll include links to those videos in the video description and on my blog in case you want ideas for how to build a Helicarrier that looks better than mine. But for my toy box, this is what I'm going to build, and I've already gotten a little bit of a start on this. So we come into Spark mode. I put a few pieces that we're going to need out here. This is the Nomansian Walkway intersection from Building Sets Group 5. And if you look at the info for this, it's from the Incredibles playset. This is part of the city buildings in Building Sets Group 2. It's the city railing. We used this earlier in this series in the Churchill toy box. And this is a little satellite dish out of the decorations drawer. Now, to help us put the carrier out in the right place off of the end of the island here, I've placed a bunch of these blocks out of the blocks drawer. These are the blocks that I'm using. I placed 14 of them going out this way, and then another 4 going this way. So the front of the Helicarrier is going to sit right here, okay? And so this is where we're going to begin our build. So we're going to start with this long, flat terrain block. This is going to sit like that, and on the end of it like that. And let me pull up my screen grabs here to make sure I get this right. Okay. So that's exactly where that has to go. And all of the terrain blocks that we're going to use for the Helicarrier are going to use the kiln texture. I'll set that to be my theme. The top of it is perfect for the texture. The sides, not so much. I really don't think that looks that good. If you're on a system with more memory, you might consider covering that up with some of the wall pieces out of the blocks drawer and use something that looks a little bit different texture-wise, but I can't afford to do that, so this is what I'm going to do. Alright, and at this point we can take all of these out. And I'm just going to take out enough of these to make room for the ship, but you'll take all of those out all the way over to the terrain. Alright, so we have the front of our helicarrier. Now we're going to shift over here and use this terrain block for the rest of these pieces. And so this is going to sit like this and like this, and you'll notice that's taller than that piece. And we kind of need it to be that way. We're going to place 3 of these like so, because the helicarrier is actually thicker in the back. I didn't show a screenshot for that, but that's the case. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of a squarish end over here, and if you're going to be covering up the outside of this with wall pieces from the blocks drawer, you might consider using pieces like this with that same texture to try to make this look less blocky. You could put those there. You could put these along the front up here and just try to make this look a little bit better. Again, I don't have the memory for that, so I'm not going to do that. Alright, so there is the basic length of our helicarrier. And I'm going to start now working on the turbines. And all of these are structured pretty much the same size-wise. We're going to be using these terrain corners and some of the flatter pieces for this. So we'll start with this little small terrain corner. And we're going to place the first one here like this. All right. And then the other pieces we're going to use are these. We're going to place 2 of those there like that. And we're also going to use some of these. So that's the pieces that are going to make up the housings for the turbine. So this will be the front turbine here. This one we're going to place out here like this. And that one. And that one. And so it's pretty much just a matter of building the ring around where the turbine, where the round thing sits. Let's see. Yeah, this is what's got to go here. And then this one is actually going to line up over here. And then we'll pick this piece up and put it down. And we're going to use this to enclose in the rest of this. And then this piece will sit here like this, and another one on the other side. So there's the first housing for the first turbine. Now we're going to mirror this on the other side. So we're going to come over to the opposite side and put that in. And then we're going to pick these up, put them down, and come over here and mirror that. I just like the way that texture kind of lines up on the far end there. So that's why I spun that around. And then this one sits in here like this. This one on the end. And that one in there. And there's really not a lot to comment on here because this is pretty straightforward. And it's basically, again, the same thing we've already done on the other side, just a mirror of it. Alright, so there we go. As you can see, that's an exact duplicate of what's on the opposite side. So those are the turbine housings for the front. Now, the ones on the back are basically the same, except we're going to leave off this little piece. And so as we pick this up, this is going to slide all the way back to the end like this. We're going to do that on both sides. And then the rest of this pretty much follows suit. And again, not a lot to comment on here, so I don't really know what I can tell you to make this interesting. This is just what you gotta do. Took a little while to figure this out and come up with a spacing for this that works well and get it to look symmetrical on both sides. And have it be spaced like that overhead shot looked like, so that it made sense when you look at it from overhead. Let's see, it's probably easier just to pick this up. And I know I'm kind of going a little bit quickly through this, but you can pause the video along the way if you're following along and building this at home. And one more of these on either side right here. Alright, and that is it for the main level of the Helicarrier. And that looks pretty good. And we haven't used that many terrain pieces to build it. So as you can see, our memory on the side is just a little bit over half on my Wii U. For most of you on stronger systems, that'll probably be a little under a half. But that's why I need to be careful on my build, is because that's going to be creeping up and I gotta leave room for all the gameplay. Alright, so let's pick this piece up and put it down, and we're going to come back here to these larger pieces and start working on the hanger. And we're going to place two of these like that. I'll place one along the back. Place another one of these along this side. Place two of them with one more right here. And then for the ceiling on that, we'll use this piece. Okay, so there is the hanger. Now in that screenshot, the conning tower sits up here, and there's a sloped surface that goes down over here. And you don't see that here on this side in that screenshot. But the problem, though, is that the runway on the actual helicarrier is angled. There's kind of a weird angled surface that slopes down over here. There's just not really any way to build that on the Disney Infinity toy box because we don't have building pieces with that shape. And so what I chose instead to do is to mirror the structure that I'm going to build on this side. And again, that's the little ramp that goes up to the top of this thing. And this provides a nice little easy way to get up there too, by the way. So let me pull up my screen grab here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this piece. First of all, we're going to use this piece because I need this little extra spacer. So we're going to put one on either side. And then we'll use this on the top. And, I need that too long. And then we're going to use a couple of ramps. So we have to scroll to the right to pick these up. And these are these ramps. They're the ones that are only 2/3 of the width of those. There's another one here that's the same length as that one, which I believe is this one. That's not the one we're going to use. This one's the right angle, I think, based on the screenshots that I saw. So we'll put one on either end there. We'll put another one up here on either side of that. And then underneath, as I pointed out when I looked at the screen grabs, it looks like there's kind of some indentations along here. And I thought the thing that made that look the best and looked interesting was this Nomansian piece. So I'm going to pick this up and bring it over. That little cut in on the side of that is really about the right shape that's on those windows. And it adds a little bit of a nice detail here that I like. So we're going to put those in like that. And now if we back out, there's that. So I really like the way that looks. And then we're going to come and pick up this railing piece. And we're going to put a little railing up here near the conning tower. This is where the player is going to enter the toy box. So we're going to put this over here like that with a corner piece on here. We'll put one of these over there like that. We're going to put them two long like that. And then we can go back up to building sets group 5 and this Nomansian crate. I just kind of like the way that looks for the base of the conning tower. We're going to put 4 of these here. And then we'll use this on top of that for kind of the sloped surface that's there. Then we'll pick this piece up and put it down. And I'm going to use this tall terrain block here right behind it for the tower itself. And actually that's the wrong piece. That extends too far. So we need this one. And we'll have to put in 2 of those. Like that. And then we'll come and grab our little satellite dish. And we'll put that on top of the conning tower. And we're going to put a couple of these up here. I'm going to try to center this one like that. We'll put the other one facing that way. All right, and then the last thing we need are the runways. They're one of the last things. So under the racetrack pieces, we're going to scroll to the right and look for the really wide pieces. And I'm going to grab the biggest one that we've got here. We're going to center this on the deck. Move it over a little bit like that. And then we'll style this to use Dusty Crawhopper's runway. I'm going to set that to be my theme. And that really helps this look like a carrier. And then we need one for the upper deck, like so. Again, I'd love to angle this, but you can't connect racetrack pieces to a path to where I could run the path this way and orient those pieces, so we're kind of limited to that. All right, and then we need the turbines. And for that, if you go into the platforming toys, we have the Droid Factory rotating blades from the Twilight of the Republic playset. And we're going to place 4 of these down. And sometimes they go down, sometimes they don't. I don't know what is up with that. If you run into that problem, though, what you can do, and this is what I'm going to do first, is you can save your toy box and reload it, because sometimes weird things happen with that particular piece, and I'm not sure what's going on. I've also had it where I put down those pieces and everything's fine, and I save the toy box and reload, and only one of them shows up and the other 3 are gone. And so what I've done for those situations is I've used a replayer to put them down. And so I'm going to go ahead and drop a replayer here, and then I'm going to save my toy box and reload it and try this again. And if that doesn't work, we'll use the replayer. So I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so I am back. I have saved and reloaded the toy box. And so now we will try this again. So we're going to center this over top of the hole. And then drop it. And this time it works. Isn't that weird? Now this one's a little different because this is going to run into that building, so this has to sit out a little bit. But I don't think the player gets as good a look at that piece. And that one looks a little off-center. Yeah, there's just no way around that, so that's the best you can do with that. All right, so there are our turbines. And now let me save the toy box one more time and reload it, and we'll make sure those spinning arms are loaded properly and show up like they're supposed to. Okay, so I have saved my toy box and reloaded it. And as you can see, only one of the rotating arms loaded back in. Actually, 2 of them. I don't know why this particular toy is so buggy, but it is. So we're going to go ahead and take these out. Let me pick this one up and put it back down. So I'm at that point in the drawer. And what I'm going to do instead is place this down with the replayer. So under the properties, set the playback interval to 0. come out of the editor, step on our replayer, which gets us our menu in the lower right. I press B on my Wii U to start recording, and then step off to get back in the editor. And now we will put these down again. Once again, we got to make sure we center it over that hole. We're centered, but we got to come to the right a little bit. And then exit. We'll step on the replayer again to get that little menu. Stop recording. And there we go. So once again, I'll save my toy box and reload, and we'll see what we get this time. Okay, so I have saved and reloaded the toy box once more, and you'll notice the replayer hasn't made any change. Those two spinners are still there. These two are missing. But what's really interesting is that when we step on the replayer and we clear it, and then I play it back, the replayer somehow is corrupted because it only put back 2 of these things. It did not put back all 4. And at this point you might start to get really, let me clear this, you might start to get really frustrated and wonder if there's any way to make this thing work. And there is. It's not pretty, but it works. So I'm going to put that one back down for a moment. We'll put this one here, and we'll delete the old one. And sometimes you just have to play with this. There's usually ways to work around this particular bug, and it's too bad that this particular toy is so buggy. I don't know what it is with this toy, but this Droid Factory rotating blade is just really buggy. Alright, so we're starting again from scratch. This time we're going to step on the replayer. We're going to do what we did last time. So I'm going to hit record. Once again, we'll put down 4 of these and center it on the hole. You might be wondering why I'm showing you all of this. This is starting to get to be a boring video, but I want to show you that there are workarounds for some of these things, and you can use this workaround, by the way, for other toy boxes that you want to use this particular toy in. So let me hit B to stop recording, and I'm going to clear. Alright, so all 4 are gone. And then I replay, or I play back rather, and all 4 are here. So let me clear it again. And this time we're going to save the toy box with the replayer cleared. And then I'll reload the toy box, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I have saved and reloaded the toy box one more time. As you can see, the blades aren't here because we had cleared that replayer last time. But look what happens now when I do a playback on the replayer. It puts all 4 of these back. So by saving it with the replayer in the cleared state, what that means is the replayer doesn't get corrupted. It holds all 4 of those blades. And so what we can do is we can put down a level starter, and we can connect the level starter with a new logic connection on Catalyze to do a playback on the replayer. And then we save our game and reload it, and the level starter will invoke the replayer, which will put the blades back into the toy box. And so that's how we get around this problem. Now, the downside to this is that you need to remember to clear this replayer before you save the toy box. So as we continue working on the logic and the build for this toy box through subsequent videos, you need to remember before you save, come over here and clear the replayer, then save. And so when you reload the toy box, the level starter will do a playback on this, and it will put the blades in. If you forget to do this step and you forget to clear the replayer before you save, you're going to end up in the same boat we've been in, where only some of those rotating blades show up, and then you have to remove the replayer and start over. And so let me go ahead and save and reload, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I am back, and I'm just waiting for this to finish building. As we come around and we're looking at the helicarrier, you can see there's no blades there because the replayer's in the cleared state.
I'm here to help. What's up?
And now the replayer has been played back due to the level starter. And look at that. All 4 blades are there. Woohoo! Oops. And so there we have it. So one of the things I do when I load up the toy box and I'm working on building this, the first thing I would do is come over to the carrier and clear that replayer. So that way I don't forget to do that later when I save. Okay? So that's a good habit to get into while we're working on this particular toy box. Alright, the last thing we need to do is move the start pad over. And so we're going to pick this up, and we'll put this up here near the conning tower. This is where I want the player to start the toy box adventure. I know that's kind of a goofy solution, isn't it? Having to use the level starter and the replayer that way, but it works. And as I said, you can use that technique for other toy boxes where you want to use those rotating blades. And then the last thing you're going to want to do is get these up out of the way. And so I'm going to put the replayer up here where I can get to it later if I need to. And the level starter we'll leave right there because we're going to move this over to the city in a future episode here, probably next time. Now the last thing I wanted to talk about is the texture on this ship. And as I said earlier, we're using the kiln texture. Let me put down my Star-Lord's Galaxy Power Disc. I do not want to switch my world to that theme, but this would be an alternative for you. You can use, if you're not crazy about this, you can use Star-Lord's Galaxy's texture. That's this one. I will just apply that. This is the one we used for the Churchill. And so that's a little bit lighter. It looks a little bit closer to, color-wise, to what you see in the movie, but it's just got kind of a, I don't know, kind of a rubbly, damaged kind of look. And the lights on the side, I don't know if I like that or not. But that is another option. And really, those are the only 2 options that I found that can work for this. For myself, I chose to leave this as the kiln. I just think it looks better that way on the top. And then, as I mentioned, if you want, you can put down some walls out of the blocks drawer. If you scroll over to the large wall surface, you can start outlining this if you've got the memory. Again, I don't, but you can start putting these down on top of here and try to cover up this ugliness. And I haven't really experimented with that too much. I think there's a few textures that you can use in there that could work, and I don't really have any to recommend for you. But that only carries you so far, because unless you want to put a bunch of paths in here to try to cover up these diagonal edges, it's just not going to look really good. So for me, I'm going to save memory and just use the kiln texture and live with this. But that's my Helicarrier, and that's the end of the build exercise for my Sokovia toy box. Next time we'll begin working on the logic for the first mission, namely rescuing the townspeople. Please leave a comment before you go to let me know what you think of my Helicarrier, simple as it is. And if you enjoyed my video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. That's all for me today. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.